Hi everyone, this is Gavin from gavinsgadgets.com. I hope you're keeping well. Now, if you've got the LG V20 or the LG G6 or a smartphone with a really decent powerful DAC, maybe the HTC 10 for example, but if you have got one of these LG phones with the Quad DAC, you might be wondering what's the best headphone to use with it. So I'm going to go through a number of different headphones that I've got down here, and I'm going to basically tell you what not to get, what to get, and we'll leave with the best one out of the lot at the very end. So the first one, which I recently reviewed, which, believe it or not, this is the Venture Electronics, the Monk Plus. These cost less than 10 quid. Now, like with all the headphones, I will just leave some quick links so you can check all the specs and details on them and latest sort of pricing. But these are 64 ohm headphones, so will literally trigger that high impedance mode on the LG G6 Quad DAC or the LG V20 Quad DAC. And whilst they lack sub bass, they have a very lovely sort of treble, mid-range and sort of mid-bass. But again, they're not, these are not bass heavy. Do not use these if you're going to listen to dance music. No good at all. But for something cheap and cheerful with a headphone jack that will work with your Quad DAC phone, these are less than 10 quid. And probably, I've got to say, for very long listening periods on some music, absolutely fantastic. And you owe yourself to actually have one of these in your collection. So that was the Monk Plus. But let's say, for example, you have, these are the Sennheiser in-ear Momentum. These aren't really nice headphones, they sound okay, sound quite good actually. But for the V20 or the G6, you're just not going to get the best out of them. They're low impedance, they don't trigger that high impedance mode, which you don't actually need to trigger all the time, and that's just a bit of a myth, because it does give a wider dynamic range even with lower impedance headphones. But I've got to say, these aren't the ones I'd opt for if you've got the G6 or the V20 Quad DAC. So let's have a look at some other interesting headphones. So these are a pair of Sony. These are the MDR 100, I think they're called the AP. So I'll leave some links below so you know which ones they are. These are often found sub 100, more like sort of 80 quid. They sometimes retail for double that. Don't buy them at that price, whatever you do. These are quite nice. They do fold like so. They come in a little bag from memory, little pouch, and they move around. If I put these on my head, it's very comfortable, quite light. There's a bit of the frame here, the headband is slightly cushioned, but only on the sort of that part there. That's solid, it's all plastic. These won't trigger the high impedance mode. Yes, you can trick and get yourself into high impedance mode, you don't need to. These sound quite nice for the money, very comfortable, ideal for a train, quite portable, some passive noise cancellation. But they're not the best ones available. We're going to now move to some of my better options. So let's have a look. So if you go, let's say you go open back, these are these Sennheiser HD 598s. You can see the open back grills, and if I put these on, super comfortable. These lovely velour pads, and the headband seems to have a bit more cushioning here. You get a cable here. I think I've replaced this with a 3.5mm terminated cable, just so it's a lot easier to use. These again you'll find occasionally on offer, but these are superb. So what these are good at, and they work very well with the G6 or V20, the classical jazz, they just come to life. They really have a nice warmth to them, and I think you'll enjoy these if you like open back. But there is something better, something a bit more challenging for the G6. And if I get these, These are the Beyerdynamic DT990, and these are the 250 ohm. Now it's important to take note of this, 250 ohm. They come in various different ohms. I think it's 32, I think there's an 80 ohm. There's even a 600 now. I've had the 600 ohm version of this, but you need special amplification, or very good amplification with a high voltage output. Tube amps are very good for that, like little dots. These are open back, so again they do leak a bit of sound. That they're comfortable. They've got a nice cushion here. This does unclip as well, so you can unclip that. Quite traditional. These aren't a new design. They've been going around for donkey's years, and they were very expensive in their day. But now you can get these for just over about 110 thereabouts. Incredible bargain. With the 250 ohm, when you plug these into your V20, you will trigger the, I don't know if you can see, but it says hi-fi triggered there, and you will use right to the top end of the volume scale on these. Doesn't distort at high volume. They have an amazing sound, amazing. And the 250 ohm is lush, really beautiful. These are very hard wearing. You do have to get this coiled cable with the Pro version, but to be honest, I actually quite like it. Doesn't get in the way. I just rest the coil on my lap or something and it's fine. But I say, on some stuff you might find even that it's not quite loud enough. If you do find that, I suggest you get your ears tested, you're going deaf. But you will need sometimes the higher end. I am at the 50 out of 70 sometimes, 55 sometimes. On some quiet classical I'm up to 70, but mostly for normal listening I'm 50 or 45 out of 70. So these highly recommended, but they're not the best, I don't think, for the V20. So let's have a look what we have. Oh, just so you know, if you do get the Beyerdynamics, you do get this lovely little thing, and with Beyerdynamics you get this plastic case with a yes, you can put your name and address on the bag. Feels like school, doesn't it? But I think the best headphones for the Quad DAC on the G6 or the V20 are these. These are the Beyerdynamic DT7, 250 ohm. Remember the ohms, they do several variations, and this is the Pro version. And again, these are closed back, unlike the 990s which are open, which leak a bit of sound. These are closed. They offer a decent amount of passive noise cancellation. These just come alive on the V20 and G6. Absolutely just come alive. They are phenomenal, and without a doubt, again, these used to be very expensive when they first came out. You can get these for just over around about the 110 mark, thereabouts. I'll leave all links so you can see for yourself. But again, 250 ohms on some cases will push the volume near the max, but it doesn't matter. But if you want the best quality sound with all your music, and I'm not talking about where you have to have really high quality FLACs and all that stuff, just your standard MP3 or streaming stuff, these just sound amazing. They have deep bass, they really kick ass. I mean, absolutely. They have phenomenal sub bass when it's there, and they just bring a smile to your face, and you can listen to these for hours and hours. They are fairly comfortable. They're quite big on you, but I love them. So if you've got a G6, which I've got lying down there, or a V20, you want these DT 770 Pros. And if you think about it, when Apple introduced the AirPods, you can see why people like the small size and the convenience of the AirPods versus big bulky hi-fi headphones. But if you like your music, you really enjoy it, these are what you want. If you prefer open back, you can go to the 990 Pros, or slightly more expensive is the Sennheiser HD 598 at the moment. But I think the value, these are easy to drive because they're only 50 ohms as well, so you can get much, really loud on these. But I personally still think the 990 is a better sounding, but for high volume output, you want that. Overall winners, these ones, the DT 770 Pro, 250 ohms. Anyway, this is Gavin from Gavin's Gadgets. Got any questions? Thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you guys soon. Bye for now.